For those of you who may not know, Steve Solomon is the Deputy Associate Commissioner for Regulatory Affairs. Without any further ado, Dr. Solomon.
Go Buckeyes. Well, let me add my welcome to everyone here today. I feel like this has been a meeting that's been a long time coming. The ideas for this started well over a year ago, and there were kind of sort of fleeting ideas that were discussed in many forums. I remember talking with members of the PFP Governing Council, Roberta and Barbara and Pat and Jeff, about ideas about, why don't we try and get all the people together involved in training and have a discussion about what's going on. It came through, observing lots of meetings that I and other executives attend, and seeing that there was work groups that were doing a tremendous amount of work, but it wasn't clear that everyone working was sort of rowing in the same direction. So with a lot of work going on, it didn't seem that all the parties were knowledgeable about what each other were doing. There was also a lack of core understanding of the foundations of the work ongoing. So we put together this concept of, why don't we put together this summit to try and do that, and Stan did a great job of sort of outlining what we're doing. But there's other reasons that are ongoing. We've been criticized, both FDA and the states and locals, that there's differences in our inspectors' knowledge, competencies, and the processes when we visit them. And as the industry has become more global, those differences have become more apparent. More and more, it's important that our inspectorates have specialized expertise. We've seen this over time as we've gone with low-acid canned foods, seafood HACCP, and now as we begin to roll out the FSMA. We already had a discussion about preventive controls. It's more critical that all regulators have specific knowledge of the industries we regulate. Training, as I'm sure everyone here believes, is critical and foundational to the future of regulatory and public health and to our integrated food safety system. It is essential to bring these pieces together so that we all have a common understanding, and that's the purpose of this meeting. It's critical that we work across federal, state, and local agencies to standardize our curriculum, as discussed, while developing our food safety inspectorates, who in reality are the people that move up from entry level to advanced to technical specialists, and then to become our future managers and leaders. So when you start looking at the curriculum frameworks, you'll see these different levels being articulated. A tremendous amount of time and energy has gone into planning this summit. There's been work by IFPTI, academia, our centers, the Partnership for Food Protection, and others to determine the basic knowledge, skills, and capabilities of the inspectors that are the underpinning of the future of our work. I particularly want to thank DHRD for the work they're doing. I'm not sure they're thanking me, but I certainly didn't appreciate when I gave this assignment quite a while ago how much time and effort it was due, and I really appreciate all the work that you guys put into this. I like to think of this meeting as another important accomplishment in the evolution of an integrated food safety system. Obviously, we've been working on this system for an extended period of time. The FDA is not new to investments in our federal-state collaborations. It started over 55 years ago when we brought in employees such as Glenn W. Kilpatrick, who came from the state to take jobs with FDA, bringing a state perspective to many agency issues, influencing decisions, and helping to further develop a number of new FDA state cooperative programs. We instituted our state contract program, whereby state agencies assume part of the responsibility for interstate inspections, thus eliminating duplication of work. Today's contract programs has been enhanced and expanded upon. We now have over 100 food and feed contracts with state programs in place. We have regular planning and informational conferences between FDA and associations of state and local officials. Many such meetings have taken place right here in ORA University. We've increased the number of state officials commissioned as officers in the execution of mutual responsibilities. Today, we have over 4,200 commissioned officials, with well over half of those in the Food and Feed program. It is only through our collaborative efforts and relationships with our federal, state, local, and international partners that we can form the food safety net that's needed to protect consumers. I know that many of you have worked very hard over the years to help build this system. And let me just remind you, no one agency, neither FDA nor our partner federal, state, international, and local regulatory and public health agencies can protect public health alone. We all need to do this together. I want to give some background on our journey to date of an integrated food safety system. I want to share with you some of the more recent history of building an integrated food safety system and to assess where I see us now. 2009, working with the Partnership for Food Protection Coordinating Committee, FDA drafted a white paper outlining the strategic vision for establishing a fully integrated national food safety system. This system would be built upon the strong collaborations with federal, state, territorial, tribal, and local regulatory and public health partners to provide comprehensive and well-coordinated food safety coverage. The challenges of the food safety system identified at that time included a lack of resources, outdated food safety laws, insufficient strategic planning, and inadequate coordination of operations and activities. There were outside reports that were published around the same time, and they noted additional concerns, including variations in standards, lack of interoperable data systems, and legal impediments to data sharing. Following the review of these system challenges, I presented a webinar in June 2010 entitled Establishing a Fully Integrated National Food Safety System on behalf of the Partnership for Food Protection Coordinating Committee. The foundational concepts of the integrated food safety system, including developing standards to ensure consistency, training and certifying a highly skilled workforce, working across jurisdictions to ensure protection of the entire food supply, creating mechanisms for data sharing, ensuring the use of quality systems, building oversight and accountability, and constructing an adequate infrastructure, including resources and funding mechanisms to build and sustain the program. In June of 2010, the Institute of Medicine report issued entitled Enhancing Food Safety, the Role of the Food and Drug Administration was issued. The report stated, quote, to be fully successful, national food safety systems must be built with continuous input from FDA's regulatory and public health partners, end quote. So I think you heard from Stan the same comments. We're all here together to work on this issue. As a student of history, I love expounding upon it, but its value is not just to recite history, but to make sure we learn from it. I want to focus on what we've accomplished to date in addressing these issues and what I believe the future looks like. Since 2009, much work has been completed to assemble the various components of the system. Various federal and state work groups, which included many of you through the Partnership for Food Protection, or PFP, AFTO, AFCO, NEHA, NASDA, NACHO, APHL, and many other organizations, have volunteered time outside of their usual responsibility to get us where we are today. And you already heard Stan teeing up that the work's not done yet, and we're going to need to continue to look at these venues and how to do the work. The Food Safety Modernization Act, or FSMA, passed in January 2011 to update the outdated food safety laws that I talked about before. The Preventive Controls Human and Animal Feed Rule published earlier this week, and many of the other new regulations will be finalized and issued over the next several months. FSMA does many things to help an integrated food safety system. It legislates many of the actions that we have had underway, but now with a much stronger mandate. We face both considerable opportunities to improve food safety through these preventive measures and considerable challenges in implementing these new regulations into our federal and state regulatory programs. Training of our workforce in the new regulations is one of these opportunities and challenges. Our regulatory programs are closer than ever to becoming standardized, thanks to the program standards which have been jointly developed by FDA and our state and local partners, including the Manufactured Food Regulatory Program Standards, or MIFRPs, the Voluntary Retail Food Regulatory Program Standards, and the Animal Feed Regulatory Program Standards, or AFRPs. Thanks, Jenny. Shout out to you. A significant milestone is the establishment of a process to continually assess and revise these standards based upon changes in our regulatory environment. Improvements in the Retail Food Regulatory Program Standards through a process that includes the Conference for Food Protection. We created the MIFRPs Alliance, whose function is to look at the standards for MIFRPs, and earlier this year they completed their revisions of the standards and forwarded their recommendations to the PFE Governing Council, which approved them and moved them forward. These revisions to the program standards allow for constant program enhancement and promotion of national uniformity. And we're looking for a similar standard improvement process to be developed under AFRPs. You have work to continue to do, Jenny. One of the premises of the systems approach is the recognition that no regulatory system is perfect. A key objective is to have a robust quality system so that we can incorporate a process of continuous improvement in meeting our public health mission. We each have built our respective quality management systems. However, an area that we need to work on is to make these quality management systems more interactive with each other to allow for enhancement in the entire system so that feedback and corrective actions can take place both locally and nationally. This is equally important as we need feedback on the training programs as we roll out the new regulations and inspection process. Stan already alluded to this when he talked about continuous process improvement. So the work we're starting here is going to be continued, as you saw, for many years into the future. Following joint development of these standards, there's a need for time, investment, and assistance to adopt the standards within our respective regulatory systems. That work has been and is continuously going on now. There must be internal and external assessment processes for each party to determine the success in meeting the standards. We continue to improve this process. I would also note that our integrated national food safety system is increasingly being audited by foreign governments. Just in the past few months, we've been audited by the European Union, Australia, Canada, China, and Indonesia. Understandably, training and demonstration of competency of our workforce is always one of the critical elements of each of these audits. As many of you are aware, the Government Accountability Office, or GAO, has initiated an oversight study earlier this year focused on our progress in developing an integrated national food safety system. Some of you in this audience have already had the opportunity to speak to GAO and given your input, and I thank you for your participation. Your candid positions are important so that we have a record of both the strengths and challenges of our integrated national food safety system. That study will be ongoing, and if you've not had an opportunity, GAO may be reaching out to you. In addition to the challenges that were noted regarding a lack of strategic planning in our domestic food safety system, the PFP developed and released a strategic plan for the next 6 years. Pat and Barbara will be talking a little bit more about this later. The plan was developed jointly, and feedback was incorporated from our last 50-state meeting. The PFE Governing Council has also agreed to become part of a newly formed FSMA State Strategy work group under the umbrella of the FDA Food and Veterinary Medicine Executive Committee. Roberta and I co-chair that group. To enhance collaboration on strategic planning, we've also embedded state officials in our implementation groups for FSMA, and we're working with the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture, who have taken a leading role in helping the states implement the produce regulation. We all recognize why we're here, the critical role of training ensuring the competency of a well-skilled workforce. While state, local, and tribal officials have had access to the same online courses, and Mel talked about this earlier, for some time, we are implementing FSMA training in new ways. We want to encourage federal and state staff training together whenever possible. In this way, staffs learn the same thing at the same time, whether it's in the classroom or on the job. We've come a long way, and I know Jerry's going to show it later, to the bubble schematic that some of you may recall that Gary Gurman, former head of the training division, put together to describe the vision for an integrated food safety system many years ago. So we had a little schematic, looked great on a piece of paper. That has come to fruition, which I think you'll appreciate later this week. Since that time, FDA and the states have been working together to carefully describe and analyze the job functions of both state and federal food safety professionals to complete what is known as the Job Task Analysis, or JTA, and you'll be hearing more about that. This JTA was then examined further to determine the core competencies for various positions. That is to say, what is the essential knowledge and what are the skills and abilities that are necessary and required to be successful in doing a job. Once these core competencies are identified, we can then develop the curriculum needed to ensure that we have a highly skilled workforce. In doing this work, we're collaborating with the Partnership for Food Protection Training and Certification Work Group, the International Food Protection Training Institute, academia, and other parties to develop the training needed for our professional food safety employees. This Food Safety Training Summit is a key milestone related to training as part of an integrated food safety system. I've observed an increase in working relationships across the food safety system. For example, states mentoring other states and sharing of best practices, collaboration on IT systems, leveraging of laboratory capability and capacity. Our Mexican and Canadian colleagues participating in this summit, and many more instances. These are outstanding samples of our collective desire to not only build our individual programs, but to construct a system that works across jurisdictions. We've been extremely successful in expanding our food safety response activities through our rapid response teams, or RRTs. These teams demonstrate integration among the various disciplines and agencies necessary to improve response to foodborne outbreaks and protect consumers. These collaborations between our state and federal partners have been so successful that 2 states on their own accord have decided to build rapid response teams with their district offices. Another cross-jurisdictional effort has been our food protection task forces. Task force memberships includes local FDA districts, academia, law enforcement, local health departments, state regulatory and public health officials, and industry, among others. These task force meetings have allowed the establishment of the relationships needed to enhance cooperation and information sharing between all partners within a geographic area. We all recognize the need to build a larger community of food protection stakeholders, and these task forces can serve as a potential local model for the future of food protection that fits into a nationally integrated system. Likewise, what we're doing here this week, this summit, serves a similar function for the training community. While we're not resolved all the legal impediments to information sharing, we have built information disclosure mechanisms using 20.88 of Title 21 of the Code of Federal Regulations that allows for a single signature authorization of all officials within an agency. We currently have 89 single signature 2088 agreements, and most in place for both the food and feed agencies. We continue to focus on improving information sharing through multiple channels, such as the 50 state informational calls, the reportable food registry, recent enhancements to our IT systems with the inclusion of recalls and ESAF, demonstration of a portal for state access to real-time food registration information, and enhancements to eLexnet. We've also been enhancing and continuing to use Food Shield as a way to share information with state and locals. We've also incorporated the PFP IT work group and other state members into our planning process for the development of the Observation and Corrective Action Report, or OCAR system, that's currently under development. On our end, FDA has significantly increased its investment in state and local regulatory and public health agencies to further this effort. We've almost tripled our investment for contracts, grants, and cooperative agreements from 2009 to 2015. This has been a significant increase. Additionally, the President has proposed in the FY16 budget a $32 million increase in funding to help support an integrated food safety system. Recognizing that one size does not fit all, we're working with our partners to look at new funding models that have greater flexibility and impose less administrative burden on FDA and the states. We must create a sustainable model, and we believe that one way we can facilitate this is by consolidating funding for programs with interrelated activities and goals, while ensuring equitable funding based upon mutually acceptable criteria. FDA has also significantly increased our investments in state liaisons, district emergency response coordinators, regional emergency response coordinators, cooperative program staffs, and our international engagements. All of these activities are integral to an integrated food safety system. States are using dedicated staff to support the integrated food safety system. Let's be clear, resources will always be a challenge for us collectively. So together, we must do a better job of telling our food safety story and highlighting the value and success of an integrated food safety system to our appropriators and other stakeholders. There's a deep commitment to sustaining these efforts, not only by the FDA, but by our state and local regulatory and public health partners as well. That's why we're all here together. Our greatest strength is our collective commitment to our food safety and public health mission. So many of you have contributed your own time, intellect, and energy in working on these activities, and that we're truly appreciative and will keep on asking you. The PFP strategic plan has a vision for mutual reliance for a safer food supply and has established guiding principles and key components that define the seamless operation of an integrated national food safety system. Mutual reliance can mean different things to different people. So I'm going to elaborate on what I think it means for us, the FDA. FDA sees mutual reliance as building upon our existing relationships with regulatory and public health partners through increasing the exchange of information that's critical to making decisions that protect the public health. When I speak of mutual reliance with respect to our state and local public health partners, I'm talking about reaching a level of confidence such that we can fully rely on each other's work to make and implement public health decisions and controls. To continue to move forward over the next 12 to 18 months, FDA is teaming up with a couple of state partners on mutual reliance pilots, which we believe will help practically inform the practices, policies, and further investments needed to advance an integrated national food safety system. These pilots will be conducted by federal and state field staff representing various geographic areas of the country. Once completed, their evaluation and lessons learned will be shared with a broader audience through the Partnership for Food Protection Governing Council. There are many quantitative outputs and measures to look at in determining the progress in developing an integrated national food safety system. For example, the number of jurisdictions enrolled in and inspections done under standardized programs. How rapidly we identify, trace back to source, and remove contaminated products from the market. The number of laboratories and volume of samples analyzed conducted by accredited laboratories. The number of joint or complementary enforcement actions, and many other measures I'm sure you can think of. However, a significant challenge for us is that we do not have, at this time, a single metric to tell us our progress in integrating the national food safety system. As I'm sure everyone can appreciate, the most integral aspect of our partnership, of any partnership, are trust, respect, and open communication. Partnerships are dependent upon the ability and willingness of the partners to work through problems and roadblocks in the sharing of a common goal. While a qualitative measure, I offer the following. I attend a fair number of meetings throughout the country between FDA and states. I historically came back with a laundry list of problems and issues from various parties that were raised to my attention. The past year, I've been to a number of meetings. Not only have I not had that laundry list, but for the first time, folks have stood up and affirmatively complimented the partnership. Do I think that this is because there are no problems? No, I don't believe that. What it tells me, though, is that there's been a fundamental shift in our institutional cultural attitudes that allows our problems to be worked out at lower levels. To me, this is a very significant measure of our progress. I've observed similar shifts in our engagements with our international regulatory and public health partners. In closing, I offer that an integrated food safety system is no longer just a vision. It's taken root and it's grown. It is the reality of what we're doing every day. We need only look around this room and see that it's true. Not only has it taken form, but is the envy of many of our international partners who have been auditing us and observing what we're doing and taking it back to their countries. Are we done? Once again, the answer is no. And let me be clear, we will never be done. We will continue to be tested by new and repeat public health, fiscal, political, and logistical challenges. All you have to do is listen to the news over the past couple days, where I think the appropriate term is lapse of appropriations, and you can see the challenges that we face. And we will continue to rise to these challenges and move forward to the greater public health good. I want to thank everyone for participating today, for what you've accomplished to date, and more importantly, what you're going to contribute to the future. I commend you for your perseverance, dedication, and resiliency in advocating and creating an integrated food safety system. Never forget that our greatest strength is our unity of our collective mission. What we have done to build an integrated food safety system has improved and established a stronger safety net to protect consumers and will continue to do so for generations to come. The vision that we had many years ago is now a reality. And while we will work together to improve and sustain this reality, I want to remind you that's the work that we all do every day in our daily lives to protect the American public. That's what matters and will make the difference. The work that you'll be doing this week is the underpinning of an integrated food safety system. I look forward to participating to the extent I can and engaging with you as we move forward. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Solomon.